was reading in Bloomberg, Reuters recently, of the much lauded assembly operation of VW in your country. Just talk to the future of it. How do you see VW scaling up in Ghana? Is it purely for domestic market? Is it for regional market? Is it for, and you spoke earlier about sort of regional harmonization, I think ECOWAS, for example, or is it for export to third markets elsewhere? How do you see the future for VW amongst others in your country?
I think talking to VW and Michael and a few of the other big players that have been part of our journey so far, it is quite clear that the initial decision is based on the local market and the potential to grow in the local market. But it is also clear from the discussion that they are looking at the bigger picture in terms of the African market and then beyond Africa. So the sense that I get is, how do you give them enough confidence to make the initial decision and commit, whether it is at the level of SKE or later on scaling up? And as Mike said, it's a combination of having a policy framework itself and the content of the framework in terms of incentives. So if you look at VW, for example, I would say that they took a corporate decision to be very aggressive. And they have entered into the market with almost like 6 or 7 new, 7 different models, which from what I hear about industry practice is sometimes unusual. But I think the advantage that offers is that you are dealing with one of the criticisms that consumers have with the buy-in, that yes, we want to develop the automotive industry, but if it's only one company that is coming in and producing only one brand, how do you then replace that with a very extensive used market, that the used vehicle market that they are associated with? So I think that I know it's difficult for the OEM in the beginning, but I think from the beginning, spreading your variety beyond 1 or 2 models does help to make the government intensify their advocacy. The other thing also is that government procurement becomes a major booster to convince the OEMs about the seriousness of government. And so in Ghana, apart from all the very attractive incentives that are offered in the auto policy, government has recently also directed that all procurement of vehicles using government resources must first go for locally assembled vehicles. So what it means, and government in Africa is a big buyer, of vehicles, particularly new vehicles. So what it means is that, and I know Michael has been working very hard with us, and I'm pretty sure that they would also be on the ground very soon. But my advice to the OEMs is that the earlier the better, because, for example, most African governments prepare their budgets ahead of or before the end of the year. So in the case of Ghana, for example, if we know the models that different OEMs intend to bring into the market when they intend to start, it allows us to make the government procurement policy become enforceable with our department and agency. So I think that so far But I must also point out that the affliction in Ghana has been that even though we have different OEMs coming in with different interests, they've all worked together and collaborated in supporting Ghana, rather than coming in and competing right from the beginning. And I think that has really helped the case of Ghana.
Thank you very much. Can I come back to Anthony? And you raise a very crucial point about government procurement. Anthony, is that in terms of incentives, are you seeing, is there a trend? I don't see too much of it in South Africa, to be honest, but in terms of government, that's a strong statement. Government committing to support the industry through locally assembled, local value-add products. Is that something which other countries, and I'll come to Egypt shortly, is that other countries could or should be doing to support industry? And how is that in terms of, is that compliant into the WTO and potential free trade agreements in Africa, etc.?
Yes, well, I think government procurement is important. I mean, I think there are WTO regulations, but I think there's scope for government procurement. In fact, I think South Africa should be making more use of that. I think government officials perhaps should be driving locally assembled vehicles.
I agree.
Or vehicles, say, in the future, made in the region within Africa. And I think I just want to reiterate a point made earlier about policy certainty. I think that's absolutely critical. I mean, if you can get trust from the industry and from investors, that's going to provide save you a lot of money with incentives.